Today, we're pitting up two of the most highly debated running back prospects for the 2025 NFL Draft. TreVeyon Henderson was electric at Ohio State, broke out as a freshman, ended his career out strong. Quinshon Judkins, as a freshman at Ole Miss, broke out, did well at Ole Miss, was the starter, transferred to Ohio State, finished his strong out well at Ohio State, winning a national championship. And now we're looking at who is the better prospect for the NFL, for Dynasty Fantasy Football. You need to let me know who you're excited to draft. Who do you want on your Dynasty Fantasy Football team? Before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're deep diving these rookies every single day. We're looking into the 2025 NFL Draft class, trying to find those hidden gems. We're doing rookie profiles and everything else. Click that button. Stop missing out. But we're starting from the beginning here. We're looking at the high school recruiting process. And what I see from both these running backs is TreVeyon Henderson was a big-time recruit coming out of high school. 5-star prospect, #1 running back in his class, ran a 10.93, 100. He's got speed to burn. He had good size coming out. Everybody wanted him. He was pushing 40 offers. The entire college football landscape wanted TreVeyon Henderson. He was a premier prospect. Quinshon Judkins was a slept-on prospect, ranked 53rd overall among running backs in the 2022 recruiting class. Good size to him. You check the tape, he's got pop. He hits hard. He's got size, good vision. Everything you see on the huddle tape. TreVeyon Henderson, though, out of high school, had some gusto. That's what everybody saw. That's what everybody's seeing now. That speed to burn, that elusiveness, what you saw in the passing game. We get into the college football ranks. Judkins just goes off. 1,500 yards, 16 touchdowns. He comes out of nowhere. He's productive. Then in 2023, we do it again. 15 more touchdowns, 1,100 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. Then we make the transfer to Ohio State, catching 22 balls, 1,000 yards, 14 touchdowns. That's over 16 games, though. College football playoffs, of course. But when we look at his career as a whole, 3,700 yards, 59 receptions, 45 total rushing touchdowns. The man was productive. He held it down. He proved he can be a workhorse, and then he went to Ohio State and got his natty. We're looking at TreVeyon Henderson. We had 4 years at Ohio State. We broke out as a freshman, 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, blew up college football. He was electric, even in his first game played there. We knew that was going to happen. 5-star prospect going to a big-time program, getting on the field early in his career. We knew something was going to happen. Injuries plagued his collegiate career from then, but 2023, we got right a little bit with 11 touchdowns, 926 yards. This year, sharing the backfield with Judkins, averaging 7.1 yards per carry, 27 balls caught, still productive, had a lot of highlight moments to his name. Looking at Judkins, he went off against some big-time programs. 200 yards against Arkansas, 200 yards against TAMU, 177 yards against LSU. Marshall, we went off on. Tulsa, Auburn, Alabama, we hung 135 on. Auburn, 124. That's debatable. How good do you think they are? Penn State, 106. TAMU, again, 102. Notre Dame, 100. And the list goes on. He will come out in big moments and make it rain. That's what we're seeing with Quinshon Judkins when we're just looking at the numbers. But we can say the same thing with TreVeyon Henderson. 270 yards on Tulsa, 162 on Wisconsin, 152 on Penn State, 146 on Minnesota, 128 on Rutgers, 121 on Wisconsin again. Very productive, very explosive, and has the ability, just like Judkins, to take over games and be dominant, be explosive, make those big plays. When we're looking at yards after contact, this year, 587 yards after contact this year for Quinshon Judkins. Henderson had 643, 4.43 yards per carry versus Judkins 3.04. He won that battle of efficiency after contact. Henderson did this season. Prior to that, 3.21 yards after contact per attempt for Judkins, 3.38 his freshman season. Then Henderson, his freshman season, 4.31 when he was healthy, blowing up. So really, when he's completely healthy and not ramping up from an injury, you're getting 4 yards after contact per attempt, 3.68 in 2023. But honestly, that first and last season, looking at those indicators, 50 missed tackles forced by Henderson. But Judkins, look at the missed tackles forced at Ole Miss. 76 as a freshman, 78 as a sophomore. You go look at the tape, you see why. He moves well laterally. He's very tough at the point of contact. He has a tough stiff arm as well. 28 carries of 10 plus yards or more versus 32 against Henderson this year. That's a good one-for-one comparison. Judkins' best year was 42, where Henderson's best year was 34, and that was his freshman season. Both backs, when you look at these numbers, are great. They're amazing. They're very good. After contact, getting those yards, churning them out, breaking off them long gains. After the catch, yards after the catch per reception on his career, 7.3. Henderson, 10.9. That's a big difference right now when you're looking at the stats here. And Judkins did not break 10 yards almost during his freshman season with 9.5. However, Henderson, over 10 yards after the catch per reception every year. Big time indicator that he's going to be a good receiving back right out of the gate. And we know this from watching tape or even just watching the games, that this guy's electric in space. And this is a good number to look at. 11.1 and 11.7 are his highs, 2023 and 2021. Yards after the catch, he can rack them up. Racking up that yak when he's getting the ball in space. Carry share, Judkins versus Hendo. Judkins' best year as a 19-year-old, his second year in his career, 50.65. Hendo's best year was his freshman season, 43.26%, still up there. However, both of these guys can carry the workload. Both these guys can be workhorses. This is what this chart says. Share of the rushing yards, 53.24% as a freshman for Henderson, 46.97% for Judkins. This year it's 39 versus 38%. They split it damn near evenly. Both of them, their best years were in the 50s. Hendo has 2 seasons above 50%. So Hendo can be a mainstay in the backfield. Judkins definitely can too. So those are 2 good traits in their profiles. When we're looking at targets, Judkins throughout Ole Miss, 17 targets versus 26 targets, and then 26 targets at Ohio State. Hendo, his best year was this year, however, extra games played with 30 targets. 29 targets as a freshman, and then in 2023 we had 23 targets. We're relatively very similar, and there's a lot more reps in the passing game versus Ole Miss, because Ole Miss is about 100 or so pass attempts less per year than Ohio State when you're looking at that, and it kind of shows up in the target share. Target shares are very similar. You're going tit for tat with this. 7% is the highest. Age 19 for Judkins, his sophomore season. However, it doesn't really matter. It's so close that the target share is very similar. But the one number you want to look at, yards after the catch per reception, Henderson smokes him. He smokes him, almost doubles it. Almost doubles the output of Judkins on average. That's something to look at here. When we're looking at potential draft capital from mock drafts, they're also being valued very similar. On average, Henderson's being drafted around the 64th pick. On average, Judkins the 65th pick. Rumors that Henderson could be a first rounder. However, late January, early February rumors is something you do not want to take too seriously. And both these running backs are very good prospects, that both of them would be the RB1 in last year's class. The big difference is Hendo's speed. He's electric. Judkins is a good grinder. He's got good power. He's got wiggle too, moves laterally very well. That stiff arm is nasty. Judkins can be a workhorse wherever he goes. However, that means he can be a workhorse. That doesn't mean he will be a workhorse if that team has another running back. So he's fantasy viable for most teams, but some teams he might get in a situation where he might have to wait. He might have to wait a little bit before he gets the full workload. However, when you look at Henderson, he can play anywhere. All 32 teams have some sort of role, and he's so electric in space that he just needs a little bit of touches, and he can give you some value in fantasy football, especially trade value in dynasty fantasy football, especially he hits some long runs. His ability to house it from anywhere on the field especially if he gets the ball out in the flat, no one around him, is unparalleled when it's compared to Judkins. Judkins is different. He's got a lot of thump. He's got good balance. He's good after contact. When I think about these players right now, and if I had to draft these players for Dynasty Fantasy Football right now, TreVeyon Henderson, I know he's good for every single team in the National Football League where he'll get a role, and he will have a role, and he will get his opportunity, and that's a little bit safer right now. Judkins, in the right situation, could be a guy getting 20 to 30 opportunities a game, and that would be top 5 to 1 among running backs in the NFL, and he has potential for that. He has the potential to out-touch TreVeyon Henderson because he is a premier workhorse. That's what those numbers say. That's what it says at Ole Miss. That's what he proved at Ole Miss. He blew up against some tough defenses in the SEC and showed up in the SEC as a freshman being productive. TreVeyon Henderson was a mainstay coming out of high school, had that buzz, top-tier recruit, 5-star prospect, carried that over initially during his freshman season at Ohio State, blew up as a freshman, catching the ball out of the backfield, hitting those home runs, play after play after play after play. A very dynamic player. However, he can block his face off. He can get gritty. It's not like he's a finesse player. This is a player that could go off on any given moment, on any given touch. The thing is, he could be in a bad situation where the touches are more spread out among running backs with another running back in the committee, and he's good. He's good for you. And there are rumors that he's going to get drafted pretty high. Whether that's true or not, we have to look at that. When I look at Quinshon Judkins, right situation, I'm loving it. TreVeyon Henderson, I'm not worried about the situation too much. There could be like 1 or 2 spots in the league that could curtail him a bit. But again, limited opportunities, he has that money. If I had to pick between the two, it's rather tight. It's rather close, and I'm sure I'm getting different answers in the comment section as I talk. TreVeyon Henderson, for me, is the safest play right now is February 6th. After the draft, situation-wise, and if I see a clear path to being the stud running back to a team, especially a team that can move the football for Quinshon Judkins, he has the potential to be a top 5 back. However, both these running backs have potential to be a top 5 back, and this could be a situation where we're looking at Ohio State and how they won the national championship, and we're looking at this team as being unfair. I think Judkins is also being slept on a little bit. Those first 2 years at Ole Miss were nasty. He was very productive. He was good on the field, and I think he needs some credit for what he did on the field. He comes out over to Ohio State, a team player, trying to win some games and get a natty, and that's what he does. A focused player, a good teammate, a guy that can grind it. Very powerful and can get low at contact and blow you back. TreVeyon Henderson will block his face off. He does have some power, but his wiggle, burst, acceleration, top tier, elite, one of the tops in this draft class, and is a guy that can scoot by the defense on any given play. Let me know who you like in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.